All right, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome to the latest in our 2018 series of webinars on best practices for market development. This one is prioritizing opportunities for growth and expansion. We do have a couple upcoming webinars in August and September, and really every month after that for the rest of the year. So there's plenty of opportunities for you to join us. We also encourage you to reach out to us on LinkedIn. We have several special interest groups tailored to your particular industries. That's a great place to ask questions and get caught up on everything we're doing here at Esri relevant to your industry. All right, so let's introduce our presenters for today. My name is Kathleen Ojo. I'm the Marketing Programs Lead for the commercial sector here at Esri, and I'm going to be your moderator today. Next, we have Helen. I'm sure many of you know Helen Thompson already, Esri's Global Marketing Strategy Manager. Helen's been working for nearly 30 years to help businesses of all sizes grow and find new opportunities by implementing a location strategy. We're really excited today to have with us two guests from Uber Media, a leading mobile advertising technology company. Uber Media has been ranked among the top innovative startups by the Wall Street Journal, Fast Company, and Entrepreneur Magazine. We're really pleased to have Gladys Kong, CEO of Uber Media. She's an expert in mobile technology and data solutions and has been named one of Business Insider's 30 most powerful women in mobile advertising. Since joining Uber Media, Gladys has been responsible for assembling a best-in-class data science team and pivoting Uber Media from a social media app developer to a leading mobile advertising technology company. Gladys is going to be taking questions at the end of today's presentation. And presenting today is going to be Evelina Jiang. Evelina is an expert in location intelligence and serves as head of data analytics for Uber Media. Her passion lies in helping businesses solve complex real-world problems with the use of mobile data. She's worked with a variety of companies to onboard mobile data as a key piece of their toolkit for location analysis. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So Helen is constantly reminding me that data is important, but not as important as the answers it provides or the stories that it tells. In this webinar, we're going to focus on how location intelligence enables you to discover answers and stories in data. New analysis techniques and data sources such as CRM and anonymized cell phone data are changing the way businesses analyze their customers. This is enabling them to develop new and more detailed understanding of customer behavior and habits using the interpretive lens of location. The traditional approach to site selection, market research, and customer analysis has used either drive times or drive distances. Real-time data, typical road conditions, and driving speeds have improved the accuracy of these modeled trade areas, but they're still hypothetical trade areas. With CRM data and mobile location data, you can now supplement the hypothetical understanding of your custom trade areas with additional insights. In today's webinar, we're going to look at two different scenarios. The first is using CRM data to improve our understanding of the role geography plays in the relationship with a brand. We'll enrich the CRM data with Esri's demographic data to build a more detailed picture of these customers. Helen will share a real-world example and highlight some of the strategic recommendations that come out of that analysis. Secondly, we'll use mobile movement data to look at a specific location, the Las Vegas Premium Outlets. We'll aggregate the data to look at where people come from and their characteristics. We'll rank and score locations to understand the people behind the anonymous data at a macro level. And then we'll go inside the mall to understand what stores people are visiting, quantify the impact of competitive visits, and discover previously unseen market opportunities. We'll provide an introduction into how you can couple your own primary data, third-party data like movement, and Esri's powerful demographics and psychographics to build a richer and more informed view of your customers. There's far more to this than we can cover in under an hour, so we do encourage you to reach out to us at the end of the webinar to schedule a call. With that, I want to hand over to Helen to show you the work she's done to turn raw data into new, more profitable business strategies.
Thank you, Kathleen, and Welcome to everybody, whether you're joining this live or watching the recording. So I really believe and are very much committed to this idea that analysis starts with a question. At Esri, the questions that we're trying to answer is really about closing the gap between a question and the knowledge associated with that answer. And we're doing this through different techniques and technologies, and including things like AI and machine learning and all those different areas. But here at Esri, what we're really focused on is this notion of assisted intelligence, where AI becomes a guide to simplify complexity. It's very much a part of the strategy we have to free users from the mundane, boring tasks of sort of collecting data and to really unleash their creativity so that sort of the location questions and the data associated with getting new location-based insight and location intelligence out of your data becomes something that just runs continually. And behind this is obviously the search for knowledge, to find deep historic insight, to allow you to explore the data so you can see the problem better, to understand more ways in which we can discover, clean, structure our data to address the questions that it can answer. So often people approach data and throw it at any question, but the data itself has the ability to answer different questions, or often the data that people grasp at and try to use doesn't answer the question that you first posited. So it doesn't provide the answers that you expect. So a big part of what we're focused on is to provide a mechanism to bridge the chasm, so that at the top end of this, we're doing things like exploratory data analysis. We're bringing data discovery around. We're enriching information to see what's missing in our understanding of the trends and the patterns and the insights that are being generated. And then what we want to do is to turn that big data into small, actionable insights, to identify the key stories associated with that and distill it into knowledge that people can use. And that's a virtuous cycle that goes on and gets repeated, that we refine our understanding with new learning. We refine our questions that we originally posited, and we refine our answers as a consequence. So what we do ultimately is move away from this notion of so what does that mean, into a position in which we can start to really address some of the key questions that people have with new understanding, and particularly around this notion of growth areas and opportunities. So the typical questions we see are, where should I expand? What do I do about my competition? What factors are influencing my current performance? And many companies are really drilling down into the what and the why. And obviously the importance about geographic and spatial analysis, location intelligence, is that we can bring together two different dimensions of data through the power of where. Where is the third factor, something that connects two different data sets which might correlate and actually start to look at causation and context. Applying that insight is vital, because we need to give the analysis that we've done, the patterns we've spotted, the insights that we've generated to different people across the organization, so that they can better use this data, so that they can actually collaborate with us and question the answers that we gave them. Go back to that virtuous cycle of saying, well, now I know something more. Maybe this data was wrong. Maybe the data sets I use wasn't in depth enough. And so what I really want people to do is to encourage you to constantly question your questions, to think about the type of business problems that you're focused at, and the type of problems that are going to get solved in your industry, or the questions that you need to solve from the industry that you're from. So to better address and prepare for some of the questions that you're likely going to ask us, I'm going to hand it back to Kathleen for a first poll.
Thank you, Helen. You should see that poll pop up on your screen. We're collecting some information on what industry you're from. And as Helen said, that can help us prepare better for the questions you might have and tailor our answers to your specific situation. It can also help us prep content for future webinars and content such as this that we can speak directly to you and the challenges that you're having. I'm going to go ahead and close out that poll, and let's share back our results. Looks like overwhelmingly from real estate industry, but quite a few from retail, and then a few of you from other industries as well. So interesting.
All right. Well, that's interesting, and that's great, because some of the things that we're going to do is focused on things like more performance, co-tenancy, cross-shopping, some of those areas that Uber Media really add and extend the sort of work that we do. And as part of this, I've used many different tools. Esri has a rich set of software and data services that allow me to perform analysis. And I live most of my life as an industry leader using tools in the web, using the small types of tools that any organization can use. And I spend a lot of time in Excel and Power BI, and with Esri's plugins for those types of tools, using ArcGIS Online and Business Analyst to enrich my data with Esri demographics. And things like ArcGIS Pro, I've used to automate some of the analysis, the data entry, and generating that rich historic insight to really start to understand what are my patterns, and then what are the differences that I can see in different areas. And one of the products I'm very excited about is Insights for ArcGIS. That's a new innovative way to start to look at geographic data and make these connections through things like link analysis and seeing how different attributes are connected. And that's really produced for me some very interesting, informative insights. It's been really instrumental in some of the work that I've been doing here to move beyond that sort of high level understanding to really segment and build these cohorts within it. And the focus for all of this has always been finding these answers, right? Driving impactful decisions amongst the people that can use this data. And I'm not going to share in this webinar some of the work that we generated out of Insights. That's actually going to be in August. But what I am going to do is to share the output of that analysis through a story map. And story maps are simple ways to collaborate. And this story map, at the end, we have a link to, so you can go and get involved with it yourself. But our scenario is there's 14,000 customers which are linked to stores in the San Francisco Bay Area. We can find where they live. We can aggregate up to the store. And by bringing that simple linkage of the zip code that people live in, the amount that they spend, and the geography in which they live and how it's connected to the stores, I can move beyond these sort of simple visualizations. Here, immediately, I start to see that not all of my stores are performing equally, right? Store 25 has far fewer customers, but much greater spend. Store 3 and 5 have similar patterns, but some of the other stores are underperforming against the average. What's causing that? Simple thing I always do is generate a map of where my customers come from at the individual level. And in this case, we've mapped it to the address and the CRM. We can see the hotspots of the customers, but we can also then map their individual spending. So I can see where it's raining money or it's not, right? Significant differences from 15 to 30,000 per square mile, or in these zip codes up to 135,000 over this period of time. So where are those hot spots? Where are the places that I need to really be thinking about? Why does sunny Foster City and San Francisco itself, right? What is the behaviors, the characteristics, the demographics, the psychographics, the activity of people which is driving those patterns? Traditionally, as Kathleen says, we've used drive times. So assuming that everybody comes or goes to their nearest store, we can generate beautiful dendritic maps that show you what the optimum trade area might be and how stores might cannibalize. But using CRM data, I can identify the fallacy in those types of models, because what it assumes is that neighbors always go to the nearest location. If I look at this area, it's obviously not true. Some people that live, a street away are not going to go to two different stores. There's convenience, there's experience, right? So part of this is to then think about going to the CRM and understanding how far people are traveling. In this case, we've generated the optimum distance, right, for our downtown stores. We can see all of the routes, the connections, the tendrils of where people are coming from, and we can connect that to how much they're spending when they get there. We can look and map out the individual stores, the most shopped at location, to really start to see patterns. So store 16, the one I showed in the blue-green, is downtown. 17 is downtown, which is shown in red. So the two most shopped stores are actually all downtown. People are moving from their home, often up to 60 minutes away, to shop at this one store. And there are three stores that dominate all of our shopping. So what is driving that? Is it where people live versus where people work? Is it based on the merchandise in the store, the convenience of the location? Is it how and when they shop, weekends versus daytime? All of these things we can start to build connections around. Using the CRM, I can understand the differences between things like spend. In this case, the connected lines means that people are spending in that zip code over $25,000 per month. And I can see, although I have some big concentrations of customers, I don't have a lot of spend. Equally, I have a lot of spend, but not many customers. And I can start to use this understanding to figure out differences. Here in Silicon Valley, we've got people traveling from many, many zip codes to spend money in these locations. Yes, it might be the Apple and the Google employees and everything else, but knowing that then informs a strategy for how I want to approach them. It forms a strategy for how I want to approach the people that are living around the store using demographics like our Tapestry segmentation. And in this case, we can see the consistency of that segmentation. Pacific Heights, urban chic, top tier dominate those areas in Silicon Valley. We might want to think about how to retail that store, both for the people that live locally and the people that are coming in from other zip codes and other areas. I can start to understand and look at the questions which might be affecting our performance, things like education, attainment, density, all of these different characteristics, and use things like geographic weighted regression and other correlation techniques to start to drill down further and further through these. The highest number of households in our CRM actually has some of the lowest penetration. And equally, we can then consider what's the average penetration. Where am I doing well? Where am I doing badly? Right? Why do I need to try to drive the customers in my database up? Because all of that information drives new insight in what people look like. It starts to address questions like, why are Milpitas and Sunnyvale, which have almost the same performance in our CRM, but very different demographics. Why are people from those locations shopping with us, and what type of experience and expectation do they have? So using our rich tools, one of the things that we did is to make some strategic recommendations. Potentially by applying these 5 recommendations, there's a 30% uplift which can be generated by really understanding how to market to people better, how to seek out and expand our CRM so we have much more representative awareness and understanding of who those customers might be. So the assumptions that we make about them become better and better ground truth. We can also look at things like brand affinity and how to market to people to constantly improve the relationship that we have with people, and to look at other lookalikes, to look at other cohorts, to build our own brands and segments associated with this. And you can spend some time and look through this analysis through our unique URL here, CRM analysis, under the Esri URL link. So we're going to go back to another poll now and ask you about CRM data.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and launch this poll. We'd like to know a little bit about the extent to which you're using CRM data. Are you using it now? Do you plan to use it in the short term, the next 6 to 12 months? Maybe you plan to use it, but you know it's going to be about a year or longer before you're able to implement that. Or no, you don't plan to analyze CRM data for whatever reason. Okay, I'll go ahead and close that out. Let's take a look at the results. All right, I don't know if this is what you expected, Helen, but it looks like a lot of people are using CRM data now or do plan to in the next 6 to 12 months.
Well, actually, that's exactly what I expected, and from working with a lot of you and working with a lot of you in similar industries and areas, I constantly hear from you saying, please show us how to do more with this, teach us about these techniques and the tools that can be generated. And that's a big reason why we're running this sort of series and giving you access to some of these story maps and examples that you can use. And picking up on that idea is one of the reasons why we wanted to work with Uber Media for this webinar, and taking anonymized location information. I'm going to refer to it continually as mobile location data. And what we did is we got a sample of data from Uber Media and looked at the nighttime location. Where do people live? Is the dots on maps associated with this and the zip codes that those people live in? And what I was able to do was very quickly aggregate that information up. And I can aggregate to formal geographies like states and zip codes, or to individual geographies here like these zip codes. And using our demographic data, what I can do is enrich it with any information. These hexes I can start to use to think about discovering patterns. What's the differences and similarities between people that are in Florida and the Boston, New York area with those that are coming from Chicago? What's driving people from San Francisco and Southern California to go to Vegas? What I'm really looking at is the sort of the concentrations of people and the behavior behind them. We're aggregating data to these different geographies because individual level information for these mobile location data doesn't really help me. These aren't people that are in my CRM. These are people that have come to the Vegas outlets. These are people that have been there, but I really don't know who they are. So what we're building is a greater and greater sense of where are they coming from and what are those characteristics about them. It's building another model based on their location and the demographics associated with that. So if I zoom into a hyperlocal area like around Las Vegas itself, I would expect to see a lot more people. I can aggregate up to a zip code to start to see how those zip codes differ. Here, the lines represent both distance and the number of customers which are visiting Las Vegas outlets. And we can see that there is a strong concentration around Vegas. But the other thing we see is there's a rapid decline by distance. So the total number of people falls off as you get further and further away. And in this case, it's about 15 miles. There's this crossover in which we get rapid decline in the number of people that are visiting using this anonymous mobile location data. And what I did is I aggregated into these amoebas. And amoebas are one of the most popular forms of analysis you'll see for CRM data. You know, this idea that I can take all my customers and generate the core customer footprint by understanding how far they are away from the store. What I've done here is use the same technique to aggregate to zip codes and then look at the characteristics within a 5-mile and a 10-mile amoeba. What that gives me is the ability to look at the differences between, in this case, my top 4 zip codes. So within 5 miles, 4 zip codes strongly stand out as being different from all the other zip codes in that area. You can see them in green here. So what is it about those zip codes that make the difference? And how do I then use that proxy to start to model out all the different behaviors? And I actually took the top 10 and segmented them down. The red ones are our top 5 zips. Then the orange ones are our second tier. And using demographic analysis from business analysts, the standard Tapestry poster infographic that's available in the next week's release of Business Analyst, I could immediately start to understand more things about them. Their median home value, their educational attainment, right? We can see that these are very highly concentrated in those top 5 zip codes into ethnic enclaves, up-and-coming families, barrios urbanos, and New West residents, right? They're concentrated in those areas. They've got very distinctive demographic characteristics. This key facts one, this infographic that's coming in the September release, starts to provide me a better and better insight into people's life modes, the jobs that they do. And then I can further analyze this down in terms of how much do those people in those zip codes match our different Tapestry life mode segments. So I can start to understand how similar or how different from each other the people in those areas are. Did the same thing with our secondary tier. And one of the things that you notice immediately is that there's a lot more of these metro fusion people in here. It actually replaces that ethnic segment, barrios urbanos. They, in contrast, this group living in similar priced houses are actually wealthier, right? They've got a medium net worth of $46,000 compared with $67,000. Sorry, the reverse is true. So 67,000 versus 46,000. So people are saving. They're spending money on housing and travel and their jobs in different ways. What I really focused on was comparing these two different types of insights across these zip codes, aggregating total household income between these areas. It's relatively similar, despite the fact that it's 83,000 households versus 95. But look at this, there's much more disposable income in our second tier, the zips ranked 6 to 10. So the place with currently the least number of visitors actually has higher performance. Educational attainment is different. and also the segmentation. So these two areas are performing quite differently, right? If we go to the next stage, one of the things I can do is use traditional drive time analysis, right? Start to think about things in terms of saying, well, what do people look like within 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it might be. In this case, 5 miles. You know, the characteristics are quite different. Here we got social security set, we've got New West residents, Barros Urbanos, right? We see individual patterns around the location, which are snapshots of those zip codes, right? And they change over distance. And at 20 miles, we pretty much have the whole of Clark County. So it's not really telling us very much. But using those drive times, what I can see is the value and the benefits of focusing on my zip code based analysis, using this mobile location data to really understand how different my views of those individual zip codes is from the macro level model data that I have, right? We find differences in educational attainment, some similarities in disposable income, but difference in those individual segments. So this is really driving me to understand more and more about the people and where they come from. And what it also means is that I can use my segmentation to really start to understand those generational, those segmentations and psychographic differences. And it's what Evelina is going to talk about in our now deep dive from that macro level, where do people live, to actually then saying how do those different segments behave in the more. So poll 3.
Let's go ahead and launch our next poll, similar to the last one, but now we're interested in knowing, are you using anonymous movement data? Are you using it now? Do you plan to in the next 6 to 12 months? You plan to, but it might take a little bit longer to get that in place, a year longer, or no, you don't plan at this time to analyze it. Close that one down, and let's look at the results from that. Well, it looks pretty evenly split between all 4 answers, really.
So I think this really fits in with the distribution and the patterns that we see. So quite a lot of interest in it, not sure how to proceed. A lot of people that in many cases think it's hype, so aren't planning to use it. Other people that have tried and maybe not been successful. So I think Evelina's got some really good insight, which for those doubting Thomases might be more convinced. So let's hand it over.
All right, with that, we're going to hand it over to Evelina Jiang with Uber Media.
Thanks, Kathleen, for the introduction and for inviting Uber Media to present today. I'm excited to tell everybody about how Uber Media can help businesses make more informed and quicker decisions using mobile location data. Let me start off with an introduction of Uber Media, and then we'll dive into a foot traffic analysis on a retail outlet here in Los Angeles. Uber Media is a mobile location data company with the largest data store in the industry. We were founded in 2010 and are experts at taking mobile data, cleaning it for the best quality, and turning it into easy-to-use data sets that businesses can use to assess performance of the market, of their stores, and of their competitors. Want to know the results of a major marketing effort on bringing in store traffic? Or whether the site you're considering for a new store is right? Or what % of your customers are going to competitors? Instead of relying on the traditional intercept surveys that take weeks to months for results, our data sets can answer these questions almost immediately. To show you an example of how powerful mobile data is, I'm going to take you through an analysis I did on a retail outlet not too far from me in Los Angeles. Citadel Outlets is an outdoor shopping center that features a variety of popular brand name outlets, outlet stores, and restaurants. That includes Adidas, Nike, Old Navy. Using Uber Media's mobile location data, I dive into the outlet's performance and the performance of the 91 tenants. who are the winners and losers at the Citadel? I wanted to know not only about the outlet's overall performance, but also how the 91 stores within the center are affecting performance over time. Also, anecdotally, as a frequent shopper there, I know that the Nike factory store looks to always be really busy. The lines are around the store. So I compared the Citadel outlet's performance to Nike's for an added element. What I found in analyzing foot traffic patterns quarter by quarter was fascinating. From our baseline foot traffic numbers, we saw almost 500,000 visitors to Citadel and about 40,000 to Nike store during quarter 2 of 2017. We mapped the movement of the outlet customers in a heat map for another level of analysis and found what areas of the outlet were foot traffic drivers. Nike accounted for 8% of visitors at the outlets. And look what impact it has. Amongst the 91 stores, the hottest areas in the outlet is the one surrounding Nike. I compared the next quarter's performance and found that while traffic counts grew only slightly, the patterns in foot traffic has changed within the outlet. The heat around the Nike store has grown even more, and we see that the food court has also lit up in traffic. From the heat map, we can likely conclude that the Citadel outlet's growth from last quarter's numbers looks to be attributed to the stores around the Nike itself and the food court. This made me wonder whether there were any promotions or if there are any restaurants or store openings that may have happened in quarter 3. What mobile data can provide in a quick manner is the effect of marketing efforts or store openings to any area, shopping center or mall. As we go into quarter 4, the data story, going back over here. As we go into quarter 4, the data story echoes the holiday season. Visually, traffic directly around the Nike store reflects the 30% jump in foot traffic from quarter 3. The intensity around the food court that we saw earlier has gone away, and the heat is now more focused on retail. We see the area around Old Navy has grown in heat, and also the area east of Old Navy, where Toys R Us is located, has also grown deeper in red. Overall, Citadel outlet traffic grew 23% from last quarter. Mobile data was able to show where in the outlet customers were mostly spending the dollars, and specifically what tenants were the holiday season favorites. Now, going back over here. The final part of my analysis looked at quarter 1 of 2018, the period after the holiday season. As expected, we saw a drop in foot traffic at the outlets and on Nike. What's noteworthy, though, is the percent of decrease from last quarter. The holiday season gain that the Citadel outlets benefited from has pretty much diminished. Blame it on the post-holiday blues or the effect of rain on an outdoor mall in Los Angeles. Citadel sees a 23% drop in foot traffic from last quarter. The Nike store, however, is less impacted, with only a 7% drop. Take note that through the 4 quarters we looked at, the area around Nike remains the most concentrated within the outlet. This can be an indicator of how strong of a tenant Nike is for Citadel. Now, after analyzing the outlet at a macro level, I want to know more about how the rest of the tenants are doing for Citadel outlets. Who are the winners and losers at the outlet? Who's affecting foot traffic? I answered these questions by looking at foot traffic within all 91 stores. How our technology works is that we draw precise retail boundaries around the location we're interested in studying. So here I have all 91 stores at the Citadel outlets drawn. The results are in this graph on the right. And I know this graph is a lot, but I wanted to show just how foot traffic can vary among stores located in the same outlet over the past 3 years. Notice those who have a positive trend line versus those who don't. So I dive into that further to determine who are the winners and losers at the Citadel outlets. Out of its 91 tenants, only 9 stores were winners and showed an increase in foot traffic over the past 3 years. The rest of the 82 tenants saw a decrease in store traffic. Amongst the biggest losers are the ones listed here. What we can learn from these results is powerful. Notice the commonality between the winners and losers. Amongst the winners, we have more millennial-type stores such as Adidas, Nike, H&M, and American Eagle. Amongst the losers are the more high-end brands such as Michael Kors and Calvin Klein. Also notice that most of the winners are located on the west part of the mall, where most of the green, as indicated by most of the green boxes here. There's something to say about location at the Citadel, and for any new tenant looking for new space here, I would definitely try to plant myself amongst the winners on the west side. And for the Citadel outlets, I would consider adding more millennial-type stores, since the data shows they've had the most success here. Another analysis we can do using mobile data is around co-tenancy. Who are your neighbors and how are they helping you? So going back to the Nike store, we can learn about who are the drivers to the Nike store and who is benefiting from being near it. To do that, we analyze where customers are going before and after visiting. We find that, unsurprisingly, since it's right next door, that Nike customers most frequently feed from H&M. Number 2 on this list, though, isn't the tenant besides Nike, but another sports store, Adidas, which is located on the southern end away from Nike. Columbia Sports Store and Under Armour, other competitors, are also stores that Nike visitors go to before or after visiting. Mobile data was able to show that Nike customers are also seen at competitor stores, and that it gets a mix of customers from winner and loser stores. As I close out my presentation today on the power of mobile data on location data analytics, here are some key takeaways. Mobile data provides a unique way to analyze customer behavior to any location. It can provide insight not only to how many customers walk into your door, but where they went before and where they're coming from. It can also give insights not only to your own locations, but a peek inside your competitors' four walls. It can also help you determine if your store is located at the right shopping center, or it can help you scope out a prospective center. And the results are immediate, unbiased, and more accurate than intercept surveys or any other analysis method. And if you're trying to decide on a partner for mobile data, consider Uber Media. We're experts in the field and have the largest mobile data store that includes over 4.5 years of history. Thanks for having me today. I'm going to throw this back to Kathleen for the final poll.
All right, thank you so much, Evelina. Go ahead and do our final poll of the day. Would you like to be contacted to learn more about what you've seen today, either from Esri and what Helen showed you, or more on the work that Uber Media has been doing? All right, let's go ahead and share that back. So great, a little more than half of you are interested in learning more about what you've seen today, and that's fantastic. I mean, we do these things for you to help you, make the most out of the data that you have. And,
that really is amazing and sort of validates what we're seeing in terms of the interest. So thank you to everybody that voted on that.
All right.
Sorry, Kathleen.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So let's just wrap this up before we'll open it all up for questions. I wanted to try and summarize what you've seen. It was a lot. We know it's a lot. We really tried to cram in some really good examples of what is possible using CRM. And fundamentally, our strategy should always be no more, so what does that mean questions, right? Question the answers to your questions. Focus on saying, what else do I need to do? We really wanted to show you how you can go from the very macro level, the state, the zip code, the census tract level data, to right inside the four walls of a store, to use different data sets, different techniques, different ways of bringing all of that data together to form a common, consistent, rich understanding of the demographics of your customers, the demographics of the customers that you don't see, the demographics of your competitors' customers, and how you can really start to reach across all these different data sets, these different departments, the ways that you use and analyze data within your organization to enrich your strategic view of what you're trying to do with it. You know, we really want to encourage you to establish these baseline KPIs. Evelina showed some great insight in the idea of looking at 4 years of trends to start to understand, well, yes, it fell in Q1 2018, but we'd expect that. How well did Nike factory store perform against the mall itself? It performed better than expected. What were the winners and losers of that? And constantly in this sort of analysis, what we're doing is being agile, right? We're letting the data tell its own story. We're figuring out an idea, we're seeing a pattern, we're exploring it, we're applying new techniques, new pieces of software, familiar pieces of software like Power BI and Excel and all these other things. So the whole real structure to this is that there's actually no structure, right? We encourage you to go in all these different directions, to explore things, to understand, but really try and use at the same time that structured approach to analytics, the idea that we start off with exploring the data, we clean and structure new data to help tell a story. We enrich it with new information which tells us more about the data that we have. It identifies gaps, and then we use that to distill out the essence of what is valuable, like finding new co-tenants, like establishing a new marketing program to people that are not in the Las Vegas areas, that are coming to those Las Vegas malls. And so you can discover all of this. Everything that we've shown today is pretty much available online. The Birds of a Feather story map that I used at the start, the analysis we did for the top five, the second tier 6 to 10 zip codes, and the drive times themselves are all available to you. And there's, for the marketers amongst you, there's also an ebook that takes the same Birds of a Feather data from San Francisco and uses the data set and the insight to start to look at a more strategic engagement with those customers and walks through at a high level how to do that. So with that, what we're going to do is we're going to take some of the questions that have come in from the audience.
All right. We have time for a few questions. In browsing what came in, we have an overwhelming number of questions for Uber Media, a lot related to how the mobile data is collected. Specific to the retail performance analysis, is it derived using mobile GPS data?
Yes, so this is Gladys from Uber Media. As far as how the data collected, all the data Uber Media collects come from mobile apps where user opted in to share location information, and it's aggregated in an anonymous fashion, and we only process the GPS location data, so it's the most accurate form up to the minimum of 5 decimals or better accuracy, and generally you can look at it as within a few meters or 10 feet or so accuracy. It's generally, with that accuracy, it's worse in areas where it's like in downtown Manhattan when there are lots of high rises, it tends to be a little bit less accurate, but in general, you can say it's within a few feet of accuracy. And we gather data from about 400 million mobile phones in the US. That's not everyone, but that's a pretty significant percentage of the population. So the data can be used to represent general trends behavior.
All right, thank you, Gladys. Another question for Uber Media. So what happens when there's no latitude and longitude in the phone data? Do you use zip code?
For Uber Media purposes, we do not, if there is no latitude and longitude, we just do not collect from that particular instance or from that particular devices. We do not derive. There are methods you can derive from an IP address or a cell phone tower or Wi-Fi, but we do not do that because we try to maintain a high quality database of latitude and longitude points. So we only collect it if the GPS signal is available.
Fantastic, thank you. Here's another one that just came in. Is there a correlation between the demographics of people who opt in for mobile data and the stores they visit?
That is a really good question. The fact that we collect mobile data from over tens of thousands of apps, it makes the bias not really a factor. In general, you can see population aging from 5 to 85 using some kind of mobile phone application. So we don't tend to think that there is any biases or any tendency of a specific category using the phone more. However, if you look at the way we measure it, we can only measure you being in a store if we have actually seen you have some mobile activity within the store. So there is a bias there that by the fact that we see a visitor in there, that means the visitor is using a mobile device within an app that we can see. So there's a bias there, but in general, if you extrapolate that out to the population, there isn't a real bias into the specific demographics of people that we will see.
Great, thank you very much, Gladys. Question for Helen. Will the hexagonal infographic that you showed be available in Business Analyst Online?
Yes, as I mentioned, that's one of the new infographics that's coming in the September release and has been really popular with people that have got a preview to it, because there's a lot of information very much summarized there. And the thing about it is it's completely editable, so you can change the individual attributes and the tables that you want to look at.
Wonderful. All right, I think we have time for about one more. Question from the audience: how is the Uber Media data integrated into the ArcGIS platform?
I'll say, sorry.
Yeah,
go on, Gladys. You go first.
No,
I was going to say.
I was only going to answer in a very high level. I think you can take it further, Helen. So I was going to say all Uber Media is Esri friendly as a partner. So we output in a format that can easily be input into Esri. So, but Helen, you can take it further. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I mean, the great thing about this is it comes in all these different formats. The simplest and the most popular is a simple, just flat dump, right? The sort of thing you could put into your data lake, a text file, a CSV, an Excel file that, of course, just about everything can read. And that there's different formats for tracking the path to purchase using the phone ID. There's individual samples across time. So you can think about it that have the zip code, the daytime location, the nighttime, the XY, the census track of that. And as we said, use the XY, either the daytime or the nighttime in most cases, or the position in which the phone was detected. And you've got incredible accuracy. And then take that data out of something as simple as dragging and dropping to ArcGIS Online, open it in ArcGIS Maps for Office, use it in Power BI, put it in SAP HANA, put it in Oracle, whatever your favorite data set, data access tool is, BI Power Tool. It's very, very simple to get in, because what we've done is work pretty hard with Uber Media over the last 3 months to make it extremely Esri friendly.
Fantastic. All right, we are out of time for today. If you asked a question in the question window that we did not get to, we will take a look at those after the session and get back to you personally to answer those. Again, thank you so much to Helen and to our guests from Uber Media for your time today. We really hope you all found a lot of value in it. We appreciate you attending. And we hope to see you in our next session. I did chat out the link to our webinar series page where you can go to get caught up on the previous sessions we've held this year, as well as register for any upcoming webinars. And we do encourage you to reach out to all of us via email or LinkedIn if you have any other questions. Have a wonderful day.